Last year, I went on a Breath of Fire binge where I played through, reviewed, and created other content for all the games in this series, and I'll say it again, what a ride. There are some seriously amazing titles in this series, so it doesn't come to any surprise as to why Breath of Fire is so adored by JRPG fans across the globe. Unfortunately, this series has been dead for nearly 2 decades, unless you count Breath of Fire 6, which was essentially just a cash grab that slapped on the Breath of Fire title. This video will act as a countdown, looking at how I personally rank each of the games in the series. This is just my opinion, and it might be different to yours, so don't be upset if I don't put Breath of Fire 6 as my number 1. To save you some stress, I can tell you now that I will not have Breath of Fire 6 as my number 1. If you like this video, it would help out a lot if you hit like and subbed for more RPG content. Also, be sure to check out my other videos on the Breath of Fire series, such as Know the Facts, where we look into the things that you didn't know about these great games. For example, all of the Street Fighter cameos throughout the Breath of Fire series. I'm also interested to see how you rank the titles that you've played, so let me know in the comments. Alright, let's get into it. I had a hard time deciding whether or not to add this one to the list, but I chose to do it just to highlight what a colossal disappointment it was. Breath of Fire 6 Guardians of the White Dragon, an absolute disgrace of a game that did nothing more than sully this great series. If you're unaware, Breath of Fire 6 was a microtransaction heavy free-to-play online RPG released only in Japan for the PC and mobile devices. This time around, you do not play as Ryu. You begin by creating a brand new human character and customizing their appearance from a very limited set of options. Capcom really wanted our money for this one. To embark on a quest, you actually had to wait until you naturally acquire enough of a specific item. If you didn't want to wait, if you actually wanted to play the game, you could simply just throw your credit card and pay for it. Each quest featured a short linear path. You travel from the left of screen to the right, with various monsters popping up to challenge you and your AI party members in a very simple, unrewarding combat system. This game was a massive bust, and in 2017, when online operations for the title officially ceased, it held a Play Store rating of 1.7 out of 5. That's right, the game did not even last 2 years. I guess it's good that Capcom actually decided to do something with the series, but not this. Anything but this. In number 5, we have the first Breath of Fire title. Released in the US in 1994, Breath of Fire 1 was received fairly well with critics and was a starting point of something special. You play the role of Ryu, a descendant of the Light Dragon clan, which gives him the unique ability to turn into dragons. At the start of the game, Ryu's village is burnt to the ground by an evil organization known as the Dark Dragons, who also kidnap his sister Sarah. Initially, Ryu sets out to save Sarah, but soon gets involved in stopping the Dark Dragon clan from conquering the planet. This game establishes quite a lot of series staples such as Ryu and Nina as recurring characters, dragon transformations, and fishing. Now, I should mention that I only played this for the first time in 2019, so I was completely free from all forms of nostalgia. Because of this, I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as many other Breath of Fire fans seem to. The lack of clear direction given to the player, the absolutely unbearable encounter rate, the appalling item management, and the unbalanced characters all really stood out to me and hindered my enjoyment of this debut Breath of Fire title. The one thing I did love, however, was the massive world that provided loads of secrets to uncover. Having played all of the titles, I can also really appreciate this in being the foundation for great things to come. Next we have Breath of Fire 2. This one was released on the Super NES only a year after the first, in the same week as Japan's PlayStation console launch. Breath of Fire 2 is set 500 years after the events of the original. The story begins as a flashback with Ryu at age 6, finding that his family is missing and everyone in the town of Gate suddenly forgetting who he is, so he packs his bags and leaves town. The rest of the game is set in the present with Ryu and his best friend Bo doing the odd jobs around the place to make some cash. This, as you would expect, eventually grows into something much bigger. Breath of Fire 2 places a lot more focus on the narrative, which did enough to keep me interested, even if the translation left a lot to be desired. After a rocky start to the series, Breath of Fire 2 definitely took things in the right direction, addressing many flaws that I had with the first title. A few new series staples were also established here, including the Shaman system, formations, and the township system, which would later be replaced with Fairy Village. The only real issues I had with this game was the new dragon transformation system and also the encounter rate. After playing Breath of Fire 1, I thought this couldn't get any worse. I was wrong. Still, Breath of Fire 2 was easily the superior Super Nintendo Breath of Fire title for me, and the best part is, the series continues to get better. Getting into the home stretch now. At number 3, we have the title that divided fans straight down the middle, Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter. This game took an entirely different direction than all of the previous titles, and in many ways didn't feel like the Breath of Fire titles we grew to love. In the past, humanity was forced to flee from the desolated surface to live underground. Down below, life isn't so great, with air pollution being a major issue for the middle and lower class citizens living in the very depths of society. Again, you play the role of Ryu, who for the first time has full written dialogue for him. Ryu is a low-level ranger who soon rebels against his government in order to save the life of Nina, a mysterious child who needs clean air in order to survive. Dragon Quarter's presentation in terms of visuals and music was on point. It worked really well with the darker setting and helped present some of the more impactful moments. The gameplay was another standout feature for me, with every single turn requiring some level of thought. But then there's the soul system, the single defining feature that put many people off this game. This scenario overlay system can be brutal, as it encourages players to return to previous points of the game or even restart the game completely. Now, the Breath of Fire series is all about Ryu turning into dragons and unleashing havoc on his enemies. The problem here is that every time he does this, the dragon counter at the top of the screen goes up, and when it reaches 100, game over. The true challenge of Dragon Quarter is managing this dragon counter and only using it when you absolutely need to. And if you're a first time player and don't know what you're doing, you're screwed and will likely need to restart the game multiple times. Once I got the hang of the soul system's mechanics, which took quite a bit of external research, I grew to both enjoy and appreciate it, but I can absolutely understand why many people despised it. Love it or hate it, Breath of Fire 5 provides an experience that is still unique to this day. Now, this is where things start to get truly controversial. The top 2 Breath of Fire titles are clear in my mind, but it is so hard to pick one over the other. But at the end of the day, I can't just sit on the fence, so for my number 2, I'm going with Breath of Fire 3. Here, we follow yet another incarnation of our favourite blue-haired dragon, Ryu, who is the remaining member of the Dragon Brood, who were destroyed many years ago. Eventually, Ryu teams up with some others and sets out to find God so he can get some answers regarding his clan's history. What I loved about this storytelling is how it was told through 2 different time periods. The first third is told when the characters are younger, and then after a significant story event leaps forward several years. Breath of Fire 3 also looks beautiful, and its visual style still holds strong today. The game also absolutely nailed the dragon transformation system. The ability to splice genes provided loads of different dragon combinations, and this really made me feel like an absolute powerhouse. Breath of Fire 3 also took the village, fishing, and masters mechanics to another level. Overall, this game is an incredible JRPG, and it's easy to see why many people regard it as the best in the series. Top spot, Breath of Fire 4. This was the first title in the series that I played all the way back in the early 2000s. I remember loving it to bits back then, but the decades clouded my memories of its finer details. Breath of Fire 4 starts with Nina and Cray shipwrecked in the middle of the desert when they come across a large dragon who transforms into a young man. As you would expect, this is Ryu, and he doesn't remember anything, so he decides to tag along with Nina. Meanwhile, the ancient emperor Fu Lu rises from his burial chambers after hundreds of years with the intention of retaking the world. Breath of Fire 4 follows up with a unique style of storytelling as seen in Breath of Fire 3, but this time through 2 different points of views. The majority of the story is told through our blue-haired hero Ryu's point of view, with an occasional shift to Fu Lu's point of view. Playing it once again last year reminded me why I had held this so dearly for so many years. For me, this and Breath of Fire 3 are clearly up there as the 2 best titles in the series, but the 4th just does enough to give it the edge. The awesome front row back row battle system, improvements to the Master's incredibly addictive fishing minigame, and timeless visuals are the things that really stood out. This was more than enough to distract me from the annoying camera and the dragon system, which wasn't terrible but was a step backwards from Breath of Fire 3. Congratulations Breath of Fire 4, you win the Hellfire RPG's Best Breath of Fire Game Ever award. And there we go, the Breath of Fire series ranked. This series has some pretty amazing games, and it's definitely one series that I would love to see resurrected, even if it was just a remaster to modern consoles. I want to know what you guys think. Out of all of the Breath of Fire games that you've played, how would you rank them? Let me know in the comments. This was Hellfire RPGs. Thanks for watching. If you liked this, hit like and sub for loads more RPG content. See you next time.